All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Hi, this
Pledge
is Councilwoman
allegiance
Freeman.
to the flag of the United States of America, Republic,
to the republic
for which it stands,
which it stands, one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, liberty
liberty,
for all.
justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome to the City Council budget hearing session number 4. We made a lot of progress in the first 3 nights, and we got a long night ahead of us. But we have we only have 2 presenters and 2 seasoned city officials. So I know that they know these. Chuck has been helping us guide us through a bunch of this anyway. So, but first we have Chief Zukoski. But Grace, can you take a quick roll call for us, and we'll get right into it?
Yep. Councilman Scaringi. Councilwoman Restinetti.
Present.
Councilwoman Riley.
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman.
Present.
Councilman Burns.
Present.
Councilman Strawn.
Present.
President Scanlon.
Present.
That's 6 here, 1 absent. Scaringi.
Okay, well, let's get started. I'm sure Gio will be with us shortly. So I'd like to officially open pages 48 through 57, police budget, page 58, on-street parking, page 66, civil defense, and page 199 as it relates to the police. And it looks like that's the auction items that we've been talking about that they might send and get some money for the auction, but that's on page 199. So I'll open those pages. And Chief Zukoski's with us. I'd open it up. And so go ahead, Chief, whenever you're ready. You want to start, if you want to start on page 48.
I think you're, Chief Zukoski, you're muted.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. All right, Phil, where do you want me to start? You know, it's in front of you.
Yeah, I guess we'll start on page 48, and obviously personnel's a big part of that. So why don't you kind of just work us through starting on page 48, and we'll just kind of see where we go. We'll stop occasionally for questions along the way.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. If you could please let the clerk know I'm here. I was just having a technical difficulty. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, so Councilman Scaringi has joined us, so we're all 7 are here now. So go ahead, Chief, if you want to start with personal services and kind of work our way down through.
Well, most of the page is positions. As you'll see, we have 8 vacancies right now that got put into contingency. Obviously, we need all those positions. The more positions we have, the more community policing we can do. You know, back when we were down, the numbers were really down. All we did was run from call to call to call. So obviously, I understand the city's finances at this point, and we're waiting to see what kind of money comes in from the federal government. But those are positions that we really need. I'm just looking down, you know, we unfunded 1 position, and we need to switch that. Chuck can fill you in on that. As far as senior clerk and a senior typist, just a mistake that when the wrong person.
Chief, let me explain what we did here. We're unfunding a position, putting 1 in contingency, and we did it incorrectly. The 1 position that is about halfway down the page, I think it said. Try to find it here. Okay, it says senior clerk, 1 vacancy contingency. That position should have gone into the unfunded position, and the one below it, a senior typist, should have been in the contingency line. So we'd like to switch those 2, and what that's going to mean is we're going to add $4,993 in the 8990 account. And we'll change the position title. I don't know if you want to go through the rest of the budget and do it then, or how you want to.
Say that again, Chuck. We're adding $4,993 to which position?
Well, if you go to A1990, oh, it's going to be the senior typist position that's not there.
Okay. The senior typist, that's at 33,403 now?
Yes.
Okay, so we're adding that.
Wait, it's the senior.
No, that, Chuck, that's the wrong one. We want
Yeah,
the
it's
senior
30
typist at 33,589.
Correct.
The unfunded one?
Yes.
So the unfunded position should be 38,582, is that what we're saying?
Should be 33,589. And we also got to change the title of the position. So basically, the easiest way to understand this, Bill, is if you go to page 47,
Yep.
the second line item, we want to cross that out where it says senior clerk. And we want to type in senior typist.
Okay.
And the new rate would be 33,589.
The 33,589 already has the 4993 in it.
Right, but in order to do that, we have to move money from A, if you go back to page 46, we have to move money from A 199055000 to A 1990.55050 for that difference of $4,993.
Okay.
Does that make sense, everybody?
I got it, yes.
Yep.
Okay, but Chuck, let's do one motion at a time, okay?
Okay.
All right, why don't we just take care of that now, while it's fresh as mud in all of our heads here, so we get the numbers right and stuff like that, if that's okay. Do you have any other things that have to be swapped as far as you know? Your end, chief?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Why don't we take care of that right now and get that taken care of? And then we'll continue on through the, have some questions.
Ken, you want me to mark off the motion?
Well, you
Chuck-
want to start with page 47, just correcting the title and the amount?
Sure, yep, that'll probably be a good start, easy one.
Okay. So we're changing A3120 senior clerk to senior typist. We're changing the title, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so can we have a motion to change A3120 on page 47 from senior clerk to senior typist?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of changing that title from senior clerk to senior typist on page 47, A3120? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we had Councilman Scringy on the motion and Council President Scanlon on the second of that. Okay. And the second one, we're taking 4,993 from contingency, correct? A199055000. And we're putting it to, what's the budget code for where it's going to, Chuck? It's not the A. Go ahead.
A1990.55050. The last line you see there, a bunch of those positions.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Unfilled positions. Gotcha. I was looking back at the police budget. I apologize. All right, so we're going from contingency account to contingency unfilled positions.
Correct.
All right, so can we have a motion to move $4,992 from A1990.55000, which is the contingency account, to A1990.55050, which is the contingency unfilled positions account?
So moved, Chairman.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of moving $4,993 from contingency to contingency unfilled positions?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, we have Councilman Scaringi on the motion and Councilwoman Resinitti on the second for that. Okay, so we got that formality out of the way. I guess we can continue with the,
So we got one more motion we gotta make on page 48. Where it says senior clerk, one vacant, C contingency, it's gotta be stated as unfunded. And the senior typist changed that to C contingency.
Well, they changed it in the last motion. They changed the name.
so we changed it to senior typist, and now it's senior typist here. So we're changing it from unfunded to contingency. Is that what you're saying, Chuck?
Yes. And then where it says C contingency, you're just changing it to unfunded.
Okay, so senior clerk is now unfunded and senior typist is now contingency.
Correct.
Okay, so can we do that together in the same motion, or do we have to do two separate ones again?
It'd be two motions.
Okay. Okay, could I have a motion to change the senior clerk on page 48 of the budget from C contingency to unfunded?
No move, Chairman.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of that? Change from from contingency to, okay, aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we have Councilman Scaringi on the motion and Councilman Burns on the second for that. And now we need one more to change senior typist on page 48 of the budget from unfunded to contingency, correct? Or contingency unfilled positions. It's technically contingency unfilled positions, right? Or Chuck, or no?
Yeah.
It's the opposite, correct?
Contingency unfunded positions, unfilled positions, I'm sorry. So I just say contingency. Just say contingency, Chuck, or contingency unfilled positions?
So contingency is fine.
Okay. Could I have a motion to change senior typist on page 48 from unfunded to contingency?
So move, Chairman.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Councilwoman Freeman?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of that change from unfunded to contingency for senior typist? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, we have Councilman Scaringi on the motion and Councilwoman Friedman on the second for that change. Okay, does that get all those done, Chuck, Ken?
Yeah, I think they're all done, right?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. All right, thanks for helping us do that. That was a little bit clunky, but I apologize for that, but I guess we got it now, so. All right, so go ahead with the, go ahead, Chief Zukoski.
Well, there's a few more positions budgeted there. The education incentive, that's contractual, longevity is contractual. The rate adjustment, Chuck, you'd have to explain that.
The rate adjustment is that police officers get hired at different times during the year. So we put in their salary at their full salary, what it's going to be at the end of next year. And we back out if they only work a quarter or 3 quarters at that new salary. So that's that difference.
The police matrons, we don't spend that money. We try. It's difficult anytime we have a female prisoner. It's almost required. We have a matron. We just can't get them. We have to have some money there in case we try. It's people get called at 3 o'clock in the morning. They won't come in. So we did reduce that $1,000 because we used to have a couple come in now and then, and we try to advertise for it. It's $12.50 an hour, and it's just very difficult to get somebody. So we try to almost, whenever possible, don't keep a female here under any circumstances. But sometimes if it's a serious felony, we have no choice.
Okay, let's hold on there for 1 second, because that's the personal and the police makers. We appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Zukoski on page 48?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Friedman.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Chief Zukoski. Thanks for being here to help us work through this. I was wondering, how many police officers are on the road or like out on patrol at any given time?
That's a difficult question to answer. The shifts has mandatory minimums. The afternoon and night shift is 10 patrolmen. Depending, there's a contractual contract on how many supervisors and patrolmen are on a shift. There's days off, there's vacation, people calling sick, they go out short. So I just can't give you a number. Like the afternoon shift right now should have 10 officers working regular patrol, not including the community response team, but plus at least 2 supervisors. But there's a work schedule. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 supervisors working like only 1 day a week when they all are scheduled to work. But there's vacation, there's training, various things come up. Like this morning, the day shift was too short. Their minimum patrolmen, not supervisors, is 8. They had 2 calling sick. We're short, as I said, we're down 8 positions. And as I said, the work schedule is contractual. We had the mandate, a guy which we just started recently, mandating people to stay from the night shift for 4 hours. We try to get somebody to come in from the afternoon shift early. So I can't give you a set number. Every day that varies. Depending on,
right.
There's a lot of people assigned to the shift. People are off on family medical leave. Officers, either they're pregnant themselves and have babies, or with all these young cops we have, they're all taking 2, 4, 6 weeks of maternity leave when they have a baby. So, it stresses our manpower. So it's difficult to give you any given time. Like I could look tomorrow and say, this is how many cops, if nobody calls in sick, will be working tomorrow, but that I won't know till tomorrow who calls in sick.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Of course, there's going to be variety there. So there's approximately a dozen at any given time, and then there's 3 shifts per day. So that's approximately 36 officers working per day. Is that correct?
Assigned to patrol. Now the community response team's got 6 or 7 guys. Their hours, basically our afternoon hours, but that gets dictated out from me and out of my office. So assigned to the patrol division, yes, but there's other people working. There's 2 night detectives. There's detectives during the day. So you're talking uniform personnel, roughly. Yes, that would be yes.
Okay. And my other question was about the 2 officers that are funded through the COPS grant. And am I correct in my understanding that requires a certain level of police staffing to be in compliance with that grant requirement?
I'm trying to remember because the last one did require it or didn't. I guess I'm not sure if you have to maintain. You can't in a certain period of time. If you ask for the funding and you lost positions, you could backfill with them, but you can't backfill. Once you apply for the grant. So I guess I'd have to. We got this grant once before, and I know they swapped each other. Whether you had to maintain your current staffing or not. They won't let you backfill like cops positions. Normally say you can cut 10 cops, we're going to give you 10s of that cops grant.
Okay. Because if this is a clarifying question, I guess. If this is a grant, I think I remember it being presented as this would be a grant that would subsidize the cost of 2 officers. So I am wondering why it would be listed in the budget this way. Wouldn't those officer salaries be covered by the grant and therefore not have to be budgeted in this way?
No, I don't think so. I'd have to look. We
Okay.
can't, like, we're staffed at 140. I don't think, it's you can't drop to 138 and then add these two positions. The purpose of the grant, I'd have to double check on that and send you an email in the morning, but normally that's not the rule of thumb. They're not looking to, to assist you with your budget. They're looking to add, to give you more cops, because most departments are short or don't have enough. So they're not looking to say, okay, we're going to save you money by giving you 2, 4, 6, 8 cops. We're going to give you more cops because, as I said, most communities are looking for more police officers. Not, I'll double check and make sure which way this grant is, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. You can't just, they're not looking to, help you with your budget. They're looking to give you more cops on the street.
Hey, Chief, let me clarify a couple things. It's my understanding, Aviva, that we have to keep the same level of cops in order to get the additional 2. Meaning that if we had 140 cops, they wouldn't give us 2 more unless we kept 140 and went up to 142. That's my understanding. Not that I've read the things, but that's what I've been told. Going back to your other point, because we have to pay these cops out of a line, that line is fully funded at their salary, okay? But if you go to page 12 and you look underneath account A43389, you'll see a COPS grant for $85,941. That's the amount of money we anticipate to get from that grant.
I see. So it's reimbursable?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. And yeah, Chief Sikorsky, if you are able to provide that information to me, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
It's Councilman Burns. I have a question.
Go ahead.
I know that the mayor put $50,000 aside to help with putting mental health people in the police cars. I'm wondering, is that anywhere in the budget? Or does that come from somewhere else?
Well, just so Joe, it's not in the police cars. We've been ahead of the curve for many years. We've had the Mental Health Association assisting us since 2015. It goes on calls. They used to cover from 8 in the morning till roughly 9, 10 o'clock at night, because their statistics show they won't deal with people that are intoxicated, things like that. So they had an elderly lady, COVID came up. She ended up, wouldn't go to work, and then I think they ended up terminating her. But we have a crisis team that responds now. My cops love them, as a crisis team working. So if we get a mental health complaint when they're available, then, most of their work's in the city. They do go to Johnson City. They respond with our officers, and if our officers aren't needed, we leave it to them to say, "Oh, we're good." But they rarely ever go on a call. They won't go on a call by themselves to determine what the problem is. So they're looking for a grant to get more people. I think UHS or somebody is providing them. They're going to hire more staffing to assist us even more, to cover more hours and on the weekends. So that 50,000 that the mayor was going to put, Chuck, you'd have to answer that, where that money was put.
And my other question would be, when we do get the money to fund the officers, if we're doing okay, I think there's 8 here, if 6 would cover you, would you consider using some of that money to put towards something to make sure that we'd have somebody on call all the time, or more, or something like that?
Well, they're coming up, the Mental Health Association's coming up with that. They're getting a grant or funding from UHS to do that. But then you get into paying them, then you get into fringe benefits and everything else. These people that are assistants are not city employees. They don't work for us. And so that, they were having trouble getting people themselves when we talked to them about this. One the guy, he's not the boss, but the second charge, retired, was a lieutenant down at JC when I was the chief down there also. But they're getting funding for more personnel. And when the mayor made the announcement, he did set aside some money if they could find somebody, he was going to grant that money to them, not as city employees.
I see.
Because once again, you get into insurance and everything else that goes along with that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Should we continue on to page 49?
The first several items are all contractual. So everybody understands, just like we talked about the CAPS reimbursement, under the overtime line, you'll see all these grants, all these things listed. That's, you know, the GIVE grant, the Parks grant, the Gang Marshals Task, DWI, that's all reimbursable money where Chuck could tell you where it's coming back in. Some of it's not, like we just put the, most of the FBI task force, the governor's safety grant, all that money's coming back to us. It was a few years ago. It wasn't like this, but the decision was made by somebody, not me, that we would list all those grants there, but that money is all coming, other than the initial 305,000, all the rest of it's coming back to the city. All those figures you see there. Any questions on that?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Riley.
Yes.
Hi there. Thank you again. Can you tell me how many school guards you have planned based upon this current budget number?
You came and broke it up. How many school guards, what?
Are you, Alex, I mean, how many positions are designated in this budget line?
Well, in the budget, I think it's 50. That's what we're supposed to man. We can, it's very difficult. You drive around and see cops manning the school guards. I think we have, like maybe it's 47 actual school crossings. It's very difficult to get those people. The traffic division does that. They recruit all summer long. You know, if the weather's bad, cops end up standing on the corner. There's times on that day shift that I mentioned earlier, there's 8 cops working patrol, and there's times for an hour and a half, 2 hours, there's only 4 answering calls because 4 got to be on school crossings. So there's some of that money also is we have part-timers that, like we have fill-ins, if we can get them to work. So, but there's actually, I believe there's 47 school crossings in the city.
And during COVID, were they furloughed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this number is based upon state guidance, or is this something, so the 47, the need number, that's based upon, is that a mandatory minimum, kind of like what you stated with the police?
Well, we have 47 school crossings. There is days there is 47 school guards. Other days there's not. So that's based on, and don't quote me, the number's like 47, 48, but that's 38.50 a day times the number of school days, you know, times, you know, the number of crossings. And there is an incentive we give them, I believe if they don't call in sick 5 days or 10 days, they get something extra, but it's based on, you know, the number of school days there are, the number of crossings there are, and that, you know, that's where the figure came up from. And with that, there's an increase you'll see because minimum wage has gone up. You know.
Oh, okay, thank you. I also wanted to ask, I forgot to ask when Councilwoman Freeman was asking her question. Do you have a number of police that are set to retire in 2021?
It's difficult to say. We just had one. You know, they don't give us too much a heads up. The retirement system used to say 30 days. They changed it to 15. So some people, we get notified 15 days before they retire. So there's no rule of thumb. They don't have to tell us. So you just never know. You know, we've started the academy. That's the only time we're at full strength, usually when the academy starts. And sometimes, you know, the academy 6 months, 4 or 5 weeks in the academy, all of a sudden a guy or two retires and we're down already. So we don't know who's going to retire. Sometimes people say they are, they don't. You know, there's rumors this person's going to retire or that person's going to retire, but you really can't bank on anything. And they can pull that retirement, which is, I can't remember it ever happened, right up to the last day before they leave. They can call the retirement system and say, I changed my mind. That doesn't happen normally, but so there's no way of telling how many people are going to retire. There's no obligation on their part other than to notify the retirement system 15 days prior to their last day of work.
Okay, thank you.
That's Councilman Burns.
Yes.
Speaking of the academy, how much lead time do you need? When does the academy start? So if January 1 comes,
It usually starts, Joe, the last week in March or first week of April. And the sheriff makes that call, whatever fits in. And so we normally hire them 2 weeks prior. We used to lose a lot of kids in the academy the first week. There's physical requirements. So we got together, thought, hey, we're going to get these kids ready before we send them up there. So we sort of tell them what our way of doing business is. And we physically, you know, they have to pass a Jody test, but that's nothing to compare to what they get the first couple weeks at the academy. So once we got them ready, other than a one being injured here or there up there, like hurting their ankle or something, we've had nobody fail out, you know, because they failed the physical requirements since we started hiring them 2 weeks in advance.
okay, thanks. So we'll have some savings for, you know, for January, February, March.
Chuck will have to answer that. I think that's taken into account already. Chuck?
Right, we don't hire them until I think whatever the date is, I think it's March 1st or March 15th, I have in the budget.
It's March 1st. And we already accounted for that savings. We only funded them to be hired on March 1st.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I think what's also important, Chief, to tell them, even if we fund everybody 100% and bring you up to your total, let's just use the number 140. I know that's not right, but let's just use 140. During the year, like right now, you're down to 132, correct?
Correct.
You're down to officers.
It happens constantly. As I said, first, you know, the first month goes by the academy and we're off our total budget. We have people injured. We have people, you know, we've had 2 people long-term light duty. You know, we put their papers in the state retirement system, but it's totally their decision whether they retire them or not. So we're very rarely up to full staffing, which stresses us. It just depends. Like we're 8 positions open. You get a couple people injured that are off. You know, we have a sergeant off right now with knee surgery on her own time. So many things come up during the course of the year that rarely are we are, you know, once the academy starts, we're rarely at our full budgeted amount. It's after the first month or 2, it's very unusual. Any other questions on that? Vehicles we can always use. That's the last thing on the page. We know the condition the city's in, and you know, we're struggling through. We have a great mechanic. You know, he's keeping our fleet up as best he can. We have numerous patrol cars with, you know, 100,000 miles on them, which all 3 manufacturers will tell you that's the police vehicles 3 times. If it says 100, it's really 300,000. Our vehicle parts line is increased because we're keeping the cars on the road. Unmarked cars, the same thing. But yeah, we're hoping some money comes our way, you know, sometime. So there's no new vehicles in the budget at all. That's it for that page, Phil.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Page 50.
All right, page 50 is equipment. You know, it's stuff we need. You'll see stuff, you know, that's zeroed out. You know, we go from year to year, we leave it there. We might need it last year, but we don't need it this year, so we zero it out. I'm just looking, you'll see 11, I think 11 replacement vests. That's every 5 years. This year it was a high number. I think it was in the 30s or 40s. Next year, after 5 years, they have to be replaced. So we only have 11 replacement vests next year. Obviously, for the 8 vacant spots, there's no money there yet, but that money would be fully reimbursable anyway. And when a new police officer is hired, their first vest is paid half by the state and half by the federal government. Everything else, as you go down, you see some things, it speaks for yourself, but you see a lot of stuff zeroed out. We've either, we bought it in the past, or we know how tight the budget is. It's something that we can do without, next year, or do the best we can going forward. So I don't know what questions you may have.
This is Councilwoman Friedman.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I see that a lot of stuff has been zeroed out here, but I do notice that there seems to be still some military grade weaponry, and I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about that. Like specifically, for example, I'm looking at the AR-15. Is that effective at stopping crime, or like, can you just talk a little bit more about the military grade equipment?
I wouldn't call it military grade. This is police grade equipment, and an AR is an accurate weapon that, if we need it. Most police departments throughout the country, we do have some shotguns, but go more with the AR. It's lighter, it's a smaller round, and each one of our cars is equipped with one. If you, God forbid, if you need it, you don't have it. I don't really know what your question is. It's police equipment that, over the course of the last several years, there's nothing automatic about it. It's like, it's not like you pull the trigger and it fires bullets or anything like that. It's just, actually, it's a smaller round, a much smaller round than a shotgun and stuff we've carried in the past. Actually, the last group of those rifles we got was the federal government was providing them pretty much on a grant throughout the country to police departments.
Councilman Scanlon, I got a question for Councilwoman Friedman. Why do you call that military grade?
I mean, it's just, when I think of community policing, right, I'm not imagining automatic weapons and things that would be used in the military. I just, if we're going to have these kinds of weapons, I just want to make sure, why we have them, what they're doing. I think these are important questions to be asked.
I'm not going to speak for the police, but obviously the AR-15s don't sound like they're for community policing. I mean, I'm not going to speak for the chief, but I'm just curious, that's all.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
There needs to be a consistent sense of verbiage that's being used here. I'm not really sure why the term military grade weaponry is being used for an AR-15. First off, the AR-15 is a civilian weapon. It's not a military weapon. The standard rifle issued in any military branch is the M4. AR doesn't mean assault rifle. It stands for Armalite, which is the company that manufactured the weapon when it was first created. It's a semi-automatic weapon with a very small-grained, light-level rifle. One of the things that it's used most commonly for, besides sportsmanship, is hunting. The round in an AR-15 is a thinner grain and smaller than many rifles out there. You don't hold the trigger and it just goes bam, 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 bam. It's a semi-automatic weapon. And policing more broadly while community policing is incredibly important, is one element of policing overall. And I think it's also important to take note that when we talk about the things that get passed down in branches of the military to sheriff and police departments, more oftentimes than not are radar guns, computers, sensors, support for vehicles. And I'm not even talking about big tanks or anything like that. I'm talking about like a literal, general, standard issue police vehicle. So we've paid for those things already as citizens and as employees in this country with our federal tax dollars. By having programs that in place, we're actually ensuring that we're A, prolonging the life of those things, and B, to the taxpayer, we're not paying for it twice because we've paid for it once already with our federal tax dollars. So rather than buying it again at the local level and hitting the local tax base, we're actually recycling things that need to occur. So community policing is very important, but there's also other aspects of policing that are important. One of which is ensuring that the men and women that put that badge on every day have the tools that they need to ensure that they actually have the ability to clock out and go home and spend time with their family. Okay, I thought this was a budget discussion. For example, X dollars for X line. I'm not sure how this is germane to a budget discussion.
Yep. Note of Councilman Squinty, I think, just one second, Councilman Burns. I just want to keep everybody on task that we do. Process is not, I mean, we could do a little bit of process, but we need to try to stay focused as much as we can on the budget and then catch up with Chief Zukoski or the department for process stuff later. But go ahead, Councilman Burns.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Councilman Friedman didn't understand that it was not military weapon or not a military weapon. It was an honest question. And the tone that has been taken with her since then, I think, is a bit unprofessional. And I think we should move on, as you said. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Councilman Burns. Also noted. Yeah, let's keep the conversation moving forward on the budget. And if we have to have another, some different time in a different forum for some process stuff with the chief or with any other departments, then we can schedule that. But let's stay as focused as we can. And remember, we're gonna have next week to have the public hearing and for more comments on the whole budget. So go ahead, Chief, and move forward to.
This is Councilwoman Riley. I do have a question in this section as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you, Chief Zukoski, for explaining the replacement policy regarding the bulletproof vest. I'm glad to know that, again, there is something in place. Is there a replacement policy for pretty much everything on this equipment line? So every 2 to 5 years for, say, the body cam, what have you, as well, so we can know how it's prioritized?
Generally speaking, no. The body cams, yes, there's a contract that we sign that was like a 5-year contract. And they come out, and usually the last one, they had to replace them with the latest version after 2.5 years. But all this other stuff listed, no, it's an as needed basis. Some of the stuff lasts for years. It's just if something comes up, sometimes something gets broken. There's no set policy on replacing anything. It's an as needed basis. That's why, we can zero things out. Okay, we got this, we have that. But no, other than the body cameras, yes, there's a contract with Taser and Axon, and those things are contractual with them for a 5-year period. But and then it's either renewable or it's not. But everything else, it's on an as needed basis. Some things need to replace. Like I'm just looking here, school guard stop signs. They drop them, they throw them around in their car, and we get replaced. 3, 4, 6 of those a year. There's certain things that small price ticket items that do get replaced annually, but generally everything that you see here is as we need it. You know, what do we need next year? Do we need to replace this piece of equipment or not? So there is no set policy. This gets replaced after 2 years, 5 years, other than the vest.
Okay, thank you.
There's no other questions on equipment. You know, the office supplies is everything, you know, you would generally think about, you know, everything from paper to, you know, everything, you know, staplers, folders, anything, you know, anything you generally, you know, think what office supplies would be. General operating, there's several things there. Some are zeroed out, you know, sort of a catch-all sort of thing. Things that, you know, it's disposable. You know, like I see narco test kits, you know, part of the law is when the SIU unit or CRT or somebody makes a drug arrest, it's got to be field tested. So those narco kits are disposable. You know, anything that's traceable, we try to put in the equipment line or something so we know we bought this and it can always go back, yep, this is what we bought. But, you know, first aid supplies, you know, all that stuff there. It's just sort of a catch-all stuff that doesn't fit any particular category. But there's, you know, we need stuff for, you know, the ID unit goes through, you know, all sorts of supplies. You know, we tag evidence. We have one of the best systems in the state. We're one of the first ones to go to it. You know, everything gets barcoded and you need supplies for that. So there's a lot of things there that come in. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. Okay. The printing, you know, over the years we've cut back on it. Sometimes, you know, we just got to look. Obviously, we have to buy handheld tickets that each uniform officer has. More we, you know, we use those. We have 5, I believe it's 5 automatic ticket writing machines. You know, we have to buy stuff for that. There's some we have to buy envelopes. There's things like that that we go, you know, throughout the year that, you know, needs to be purchased. And once again, like evidence labels, you know, ID tells me that's zeroed out. I just happen to look down and we have enough that they believe what, you know, what we about use every year, that we have enough to take us through next year. You know, I realize how tight the budget is and, you know, we're waiting to see what the feds do about giving, you know, the state's money. So as I said, any place we could cut back, we did. Vehicle parts, as I mentioned earlier, that's the parts we buy for the repair of the police vehicles. We have a lot of older cars. You know, our mechanic does, as I said, a great job keeping them on the road, but, you know, parts are expensive. At least we're not paying the labor to have all these parts installed. So that's, we up that a little bit because, you know, knowing that the fleet's getting older and older. Tires speaks for itself. You know, a lot of, you know, those cars run, especially the marked cars, 24/7. You know, we go through tires, you know, in all our vehicles. Gas, truck and lorry figure that out. The lubricants is, you know, obviously that's, you know, what we need to, you know, we change oil every 3,000 miles. You know, as we said, we try to keep the cars as long as we can. So we, you know, we try to, you know, keep those in good shape. Ammunition and supplies is, you know, we have to train both patrol and SWAT. We tend to separate it out. You know, there's requirements by the state how much, you know, when you qualify, what you qualify. So I'm just, you know, some stuff has been zeroed out there. We either had it or we don't use it anymore, or we don't need it. But most of that is, and it's tough to get. For a while back, because of conflicts outside the country, ammunition was hard to get. Now I'm being told by our training director that with the recent activities around the country, the ammo, you know, used to take us up to a year when we order, and it got a little better. But now they're telling me that all the money to be made from these ammunition companies now is with private citizens. They're making for military, they're making for police, and they're making for private citizens. I'm being told that the private citizens now there's more being made for that than the military and the police. So he says we're starting to look at 8, 9, 10 months out again to get ammunition to train with. So we did cut back on stuff that you'll see some, stuff there that we have enough to get us through our training qualifications next year. The next one is a canine. We have 5 dogs, and that's just yearly shots, vet bills, and and their food for the year.
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead.
Chief Zukoski, can you go back for me for a second? I know you talked about the 5-year contract with Axon.
Yes.
And do we divvy this payment up over 5 years, or is this payment here supposedly for the 5-year contract payment?
No, it's split. I believe Chuck can answer that. I think we split that yearly, didn't we, Chuck? Lori and I did that. Lori, did we split that?
That's the annual payment. We pay
Yes.
$31,000 every year for 5 years. That is for the tasers, for the cartridges and the training cartridges.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Friedman. I have a question on page 54, but I can wait until you're finished explaining everything on this page if you prefer that.
Well, I think I'm done with 53. 54, construction, we didn't put anything there. The main desk is new. Something gas and heat, electricity, cell phones. And then we go down to in-house training. So your question?
I have 2 questions on this page. So the first one is about, it's under the canine supplies. I see that there's money allocated to replace an aging dog, but we just approved a grant this year to add a new dog, which would be effectively doubling the number of canines on the service since I think 2018 or something. And I'm wondering, are you planning to add an additional dog to make it 6 dogs?
We've never doubled it. We've been consistently had 5 or 6 dogs. We're actually below. And the grant you approved is a bomb dog. Replacing an aging dog is a drug dog. Any bomb dogs we have, the federal government will pay for. So no, we're going to go up to 5 dogs. But we haven't doubled it. 18, I don't think there was only 3 dogs in 18 budget. I have in front of me. We've always had 5, around 5 dogs. At one point, I think we had 6. So actually, when we replace the aging dog, we're going to be at 5. As I said, that's the most we've ever had. I think at one point we may have had 6. I don't remember ever having just 3 dogs. We've always had at least 1 on every shift. We had 1 in CRT. There's 1 in the Special Investigations Unit. So we're not doubling the number of dogs at all. That replacing an Asian dog, I believe that's the dog on the afternoon shift. It's about to age out, anywhere from 8 to 10, 11 years. Chris Rocco oversees the canine unit. He's recognized as one of the best canine guys in the state. His personal dog is the one in SIU, is phenomenal locating drugs, but he advises us and gives us his recommendations when a dog is aged out.
Okay, I can't remember off the top of my head where I got that figure from, but I believe it was a police report that was on the website, although I don't know exactly, off the top of my head. But my other question was about the in-house training services. So I see that there's $100,000 devoted to the diversity training, and I know that's new. Mayor David just allocated that money there, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what that training entails.
Well, that's a good question. It's very difficult. Even back before COVID hit, it was difficult to find somebody that we came up, the mayor and I, with that 100,000. Because when we were looking last year, we were getting estimates from people around the country. They wanted $50,000, $60,000 plus expenses. And as we reviewed the different people and what they were going to offer, now with COVID, we're really having difficulty finding anybody, you know, how they're going to do it, what the schedule would be. So, you know, we figured when, you know, now, especially what's going on around the country, we figured the price of tea is going up, that there's going to be a big demand once the country opens back up and these people start traveling and doing this training. So it wasn't, you know, wasn't really arbitrarily that number, but somewhat it was based on mostly last year when we were calling around in the beginning of the year and trying to get somebody last year. We were getting what we were shocked that the price is 50, 55, 60,000 plus expenses to come here and train us. So each person had, you know, a little bit of their own curriculum on what they were going to, you know, what they offered. And when the time comes, when things open up, we still been working at it. We thought we had a person that did it in the past lined up this year. She wanted to talk to some other people and get back to us, and she didn't. We got back to her, and then she said she'd get back to us. She never did. We've reached out to another couple other people that have not even responded to our calls. So, you know, so what it's going to entail, you know, is going to depend on what the people that we're looking to hire, what they present to us, what type of program they have to offer, what we think best fits, you know, our community and the police department.
Would you be able to provide a copy of the proposed, I don't know if it's a contract or a documentation of the potential trainers that you've reached out to?
We have no contract, you know, or propose with anybody. We make them propose to us. You know, Charpinski's my training officer, got online, looked around, you know, who's presenting this type of stuff. So there's no contract. We didn't go, you know, put any RFP out or anything like that. It was just us, you know. There's not a whole lot of these people around. I bet you there will be now, but you know, the pickings were not good. There wasn't a lot of people available that were doing this type of thing. So there is no contract or anything like that. We were more looking, calling people up and telling them, letting them propose to us, you know, what do you have to offer?
I guess contract wasn't the right word, but you said that some of these potential trainers were charging like $50,000 or $60,000. Was there any sort of documentation for that?
You know, I don't recall. It was over a year ago. I don't know if it was verbally or, you know, yeah, I think it was just phone calls by Charpinski. You know, what's your rate? What are you charging? No, I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
This is Councilwoman Riley, just on this with a similar question. I know we have 9,000 allocated this year. So how have you trained on diversity to fit within the $9,000 budget?
We didn't do any this year. For our in-service training, there was nobody available. We have in-service every year, and that's difficult to get somebody 7 weeks. Everybody in the department goes, and it's split over 7 weeks. Obviously, our manpower's, as I said, thin, and that's every unit. So that was if we located somebody to do it. But you know, it's even hard to nail down the DA 7 weeks of the penal law. Like they don't always send the same person. So to get somebody to come in for a 2-hour block or whatever, you know, once a week for 7 weeks is a difficult task. We're looking at somebody right now that may be able, in the meantime, till we find a good presenter that's going to give us something in depth in that expensive range. Trying to find somebody to do the 2-hour block and the in-service training that's going to start at the end of January, you know, coming up here.
Okay, so we're thinking of another 2-hour training for the entire course for
diversity. And that's just to fill in till we really get what we want. You know, we're not going to just get somebody to get somebody. You know, we're going to look and see, as I said, what fits us, what fits the community. You know, somebody that's, you know, we think, you know, is going to come recommended. You know, we're going to look at it very closely. That's a lot of money. We want to make sure we get a good bang for our buck. but we also get the training we need. So yes, so right now I've spoken to Charpinski and one of my assistant chiefs that oversees training about a 2-hour block starting in, when our in-service training starts at the end of January. The problem with the in-service training is we're going to make it work is that it's 40 hours and there's so many state mandates. We're almost filling up with basically state mandates. There's very little room to fill in with anything that we want to choose to put in there ourselves to train our officers. So if that person is going to be available, we have somebody in mind. We're going to try to do that. In the meantime, till we find out, a better alternative.
Okay. So, for your own team, knowing the composition of your team, what is it that you really want to see in terms of the diversity with this budget? I mean, it may be longer than 2 hours. It may be something longitudinal with some follow-up to ensure goals
I don't think, they're the people presenting would be the experts. I don't think 2 hours is enough. As I told you, I want to fill in, get something going because it's been a year since we've had anything, since 2018 to fill until we can get. Do I think 2 hours is enough? Absolutely not. But that's something to fill in better than nothing to start with till we find what we're really looking for. So no, I'm not saying I think that 2 hours in service is that's our starting point to get in the frame of things, and then we're going to really, as more and more of these instructors around the country come available, see what they have to offer us, because I'm sure people are going to offer different things.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go ahead to the next page. Chief, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm looking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The vehicle repair I covered. The equipment lease and rental is, in case SIU needs something for undercover, we can put, and the SIU task force, we split a printer a big printer with the sheriff's department. The building, we have the West Street fire stations now, for the last few years has belonged to us. Needs a new chimney. Actually, when another person was in charge of code, threatened to issue me an appearance ticket for the condition of the chimney there. I had a nice laugh with that. But so that $4,000 there is for repairs to the West Street fire station. That really is not a fire station anymore. The next line is equipment repairs, and that sort of speaks for itself. We have different pieces of equipment that need to be repaired or replaced. So things come up, and we have certain things that there's just some the computer scanner, that's for the motor pool. We split with DPW a couple of diagnostic things that there's an annual fee for. The travel and training line, obviously multiple things were canceled this year, several big conferences. But we really, we sort of stick to the same thing every year, and different things pop up. Sometimes what's here is what guys go to, or something may come up, say in March, that necessarily isn't spelled out here, but it's better training than something else that we were going to do. So, we put that in there and hope for the best. The more training, everything about lawsuits and everything else is training. It's a necessary thing we have to do. Training is one of is all I hear at anything I attend for a chief is, training your officers properly. So that's that line there. Subscription and dues. That's, they're all right there. It's different organizations we belong to. that some, you know, when, especially some of the stuff when IDing people testify in court, that they're, you know, they're a member of this association or they're recognized. Meals for prisoners. We do obviously house prisoners here as little as possible, but we have to feed them when they're here. We have a, you know, the reward fund. Transfer of officers or prisoners, we always have a minimum amount there. Like just recently, they wanted us to go to South Carolina to get a prisoner with the sheriff's department, and I said no. They're going to provide us that he was COVID tested or negative, and went da da da. And so he was wanted on the warrant was something that serious out of our department. And anyway, I said no. You know, we're going to go to a state the governor's got on his list, and they weren't going to guarantee us this person was COVID negative. Even when it was going to be one of our guys and one of the sheriff guys in the car for 11, 12 hours. And so that wasn't going to happen. So we keep a small amount there. Background checks, it says school guards, we do all those. And it looks like if you look, we haven't spent money because that bill comes in once a year. It's right about now because we're just starting to get the new school guards. And just recently I started also the auxiliary police officers are coming out of that same line. You know, both, so if there's any problems there, which we have had some in the past. So we used to check them just locally, any arrest in the county through all the police agencies, but a few years back we decided a better option is to fingerprint them and put it countrywide to make sure we're not hiring a very bad person. The next page, you know, the meter checkers, you know, is there. Then we have a part-time ticket writer. There's some overtime for those folks in case there's a big snowstorm and we start. We have to ticket to get cars moved so the DPW can plow. You know, we have to have them in overtime. You know, particularly sometimes on that west side where it's difficult for the DPW to get through those streets. That equipment, general operating supply, you know, that's next to nothing. We now have the kiosks. Those lines in the past were thousands and thousands of dollars when we had parking meters. Now it's $250. It was tying those two lines together. I bet you it was 20, 25, 30,000. It was a lot of money. With the kiosks, we don't need that anymore. The uniforms there is for the parking, the people write the parking tickets.
This is Councilwoman Friedman. May I ask a question?
Good.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just go back a couple of pages. We went through a lot just there. I would like to flip back to page, I guess page 55, 54 and 55, and I'm wondering what the difference is between the in-house training services budget line and the travel and training budget line, because it seems like for that new diversity training, we are looking for outside contractors, but it's listed in the in-house training line.
All that is they come here. The travel and training line is where we send people out wherever to be trained. The in-house training is training that we do here, you know, basically physically here at City Hall, in-house training. So, you know, whoever we get for that would be coming here. We wouldn't be sending 140 cops all over the place, you know, for expenses. So the travel and training line is, you know, when we have to send people, it's very rare outside the state, but throughout the state, the different trainings.
Okay, I see. Thank you for that clarification. And I know we've been asking a lot of questions about that, the diversity training, but one thing I am curious about that I didn't ask is what over the last four or 5 years, can you talk about what the diversity training or any type of training like that in terms of deliverables? Like, have you been tracking, you know, the outcomes of trainings like that?
I don't know how you track the outcome of training like that. You know, we're sending things to our officers. There's that, you know, I don't know how you track that. You know, one way to track it is complaints, and there's very few, very few complaints that come in about just about anything, to be honest with you. But I don't know how to answer your question. You know, how do you track? You know, you give it to the officers. You hope that they absorb it. They buy into what you're telling them. The last woman we had to do the last 2 trainings, she was everybody liked her. They were very open to her. She said during the trainings there was a lot of active discussion and questions. So I just don't know how you track any, you know, the outcome. I guess the only way is what type of complaints you're getting, and we get very few.
Well, I mean, there's complaints, and I think there's also, you know, data that could be collected. I know, you know, about for example, I mean, I'm just, you know, coming up with this now, but for example, maybe like the proportionality of arrests in certain neighborhoods or broken down by race or something like that, to make sure that, you know, the police aren't racially profiling, which is what I assume
I'd like to keep the conversation focused on the budget, please. We've spent more time on these 10 pages than for any other department in the city. If we could keep it to budget, I really appreciate it. Chief Zukoski's been very generous with his time. These questions are now going off the rails of the budget. So I'd like to at least keep it budget.
Mr. Chairman, I disagree just based on the fact that we're allocating, this is a new $100,000. I mean, that's a lot of money, and diversity training is really important. And these are things that our constituents are asking for. And to say that we're just going to allocate $100,000 to something and not know what it's going to be, or if we can even track if it's effective, I think that's very much related to the budget.
If that's a new line item, then I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years, I'm pretty sure that doesn't apply to that. Chief, you just have a quick, so you answered the question before about what you're trying to do with the diversity training moving forward, correct?
We are, and this isn't an academic institute. You know, as far as collecting data, we can tell you how many, you know, blacks we arrested or how many whites we have arrested and the percentage and this and that. As far as neighborhoods, you know, who draws a line to what neighborhoods, but you know, and we're not, you know, I'm the cheapest department head in the city, I think. You know, I'm not just throwing away $100,000. You know, we're going to get the best bang we can for our buck. And as I said earlier, we're not just going to spend that money to spend it. I'm not going to just bring somebody in here to say we did it. We're going to make sure we're getting what we think we need. And we're going to keep looking until we get the person we think is probably going to give us that training.
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Yes.
So is it possible to set a date when you will visit us at council to further discuss some of the questions we have?
Sure.
So I will work with Tom, I guess, and so we can put it on the agenda regarding some of the questions mentioned today.
Okay, we just have 2 other things really quick. The auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
But
what was that, Phil? The auxiliary and what else?
Yeah, it's a small one. I think 66 auxiliary services.
Yeah, that's the auxiliary police officers, and they're invaluable. They save us thousands in overtime. You know, if we have a power outage, they cover intersections. We have flooding, you know, at the underpasses. You know, when they're putting up the new parking garage here, we need to close the street, and rather than assign a police officer off patrol, we use them. You know, when we had the fire up on Liberty Street, we needed somebody there 24/7. We put them up there as best we could when they free up the police and the fire were there sometimes. So they save us a lot of money. You know, this year they didn't get used as nowhere near as much because everything was canceled, but they work all the parades and, you know, all the runs that the city sponsors or allows in the city. So they're an invaluable tool to us that saves the city thousands and thousands in overtime.
Okay. And then lastly, 199 is just looks like it's because you don't have any, which is which is hard to believe, but hopefully we can revisit that in the future. But it looks like it's just auction. We get, Chuck probably has a better answer. That it looks like just auction items, and then the revenue's only counted as in other items, Chuck?
That's correct. That's only a placeholder so that if he sells some equipment, it goes back to his line, only what he sells.
Okay. Okay. All right, do we have any final questions for Chief Sikorsky before we let him go? And remember, we have a public hearing next week, and we have discussion again next Thursday as well, so.
Thank you, Chief.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief.
could I have a motion to move pages 48 through 57, 58, 66, and 199, please?
May I ask a clarifying question before we do that? Thank you. I'm just wondering because there is some information that Chief Zikuski said that he would need to look up and get back to us. So I'm wondering if what is the situation there? If there's some information that's missing here, I know we don't make a motion to hold it, but what's the process there?
That's up to the majority. They can move the pages and you can get the information at a later time. You can decide not to move the pages, or you can have a motion and a second and it will fail to get 4 votes. It just depends what the majority wants to do.
No, I'm going to
Okay.
take a motion, please, but I think we can follow up with Chief Sikorsky and hold, and I think we can hold him to his word that he will get us that information before we vote on the final budget. But for tonight, I think we need to vote on moving these pages, because we're going to run out of time if we hold things over, because there's still mechanisms in place next week to look at these and stuff like that. So, but I think we should follow up with Chief Sikorsky for those questions that he answered over the next, between now and Tuesday.
Okay, and that's under the assumption that we could, at a later time, amend the budget based on that information?
We could, sure.
Okay.
If you have sufficient votes.
Right.
Aviva, can you send me a list of what you need Chief Sikorsky to send you that you're looking for?
Yeah, let's make sure we have that list. We can do that before we move these, and then let's look at those and let's get Chuck on here before it's we have did you write down those couple items that you mentioned?
Let me see. There was some information about the COPS grant that I think is important, and there was one other thing. Let me look in my notes.
The COPS grant, you want to know if we had to have all the police officers filled, correct?
Yes. Yeah, so more information about the staffing required for the COPS grant, and I believe there was one other thing that I'm looking for now.
Everybody, while Councilman Friedman is looking for her information, I just want to let you know I'm going to be leaving in just a few minutes. Sharon Sorkin is on the line. She will be counsel for the next hour or so. I may be back before you finish, I'm not sure. I want to clarify one thing, is one of the things that you do need to do, presumably tonight or certainly before the 27th, which would mean tomorrow, is you need to vote on the budget as amended, right? To get it to the floor, basically you are signing it out, right? It's the same that you do for other legislation, a certain number of, and in this case, 4 of you have to sign it out so that it is on the floor on Tuesday night. All right, and that should be done at the end of tonight. If not, you're going to have another meeting tomorrow, because the public notice has to go in the paper 5 days in advance, and you need to have the budget available for the public before the public hearing. Right, is everybody,
I thought everything, it's Councilman Burns, I thought everything was automatically signed out and we call in and take our name off of it if we want.
well, I'm just saying tonight, right, at the end of the meeting tonight, when Chuck finishes and you do your last page, which is the contingency page, right? There should be, at that point, the clerk will say, okay, this is now being signed out. It's going to the meeting. All of your names are on it. Right? I'm not so concerned with the physical sign out, but the idea at some point tonight, having completed all the pages, somebody's going to say, okay, you know, we're approving the budget as amended. Let's move forward. That doesn't mean that after you have the meeting on the 27th that there can't be additional motions, but all the same rules apply regarding reconsideration, et cetera.
Ken, this is Councilman Scanlon. We can make sure we do a roll call at the end of this meeting to see who wants to sign out.
We
Yeah,
can
I mean,
sign this affirmative. That we can, yeah. Councilman Burns, I think for this one, because it's such a big item, I think we should sign it out in the affirmative rather than in the by default method. You know what I mean?
Fine, yeah.
Okay, I just didn't want to leave you, end up not being back in time for the end. I want to make sure everybody knows that's what needs to be done.
Or we can just email specifically, you know, we have to email specifically to Grace or to Lee that we want to do that, however we want to do it. But I think we should do this, and I think we should sign this out in the affirmative.
Councilman Strong, we should do that tonight and get it done. Yeah, let's not email anybody. We'll do a
Yeah.
roll call tonight.
Okay,
Then it's
okay.
a done deal.
Okay. Yep.
Because you really need to know that in order to have the, you know, schedule the public hearing.
Okay. Okay. Do we have that other item, or can we take a motion to move these pages?
Sure, but I'll make a motion to move these pages. We have to keep moving here. We're way behind already.
Yeah. Okay. We have a
Second.
motion to move 48 through 57, 58, 66, and 199. Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm,
All opposed? Any opposed? Okay. We have President Scanlon on the motion and Councilwoman Residenti on the second, and those pages are moved. Chuck, you still with us?
I'm still, yes, I am. Gonna make sure I had you
Okay.
unmuted.
Okay, real quick, what's the best way to open and approve that makes sense to you? Should we, I don't want to do them all at one time.
Open that line item down to revenue.
All the way to revenue
Yep,
to 104?
yes, whatever that number is. I have an old sheet, so.
No, that's fine. All right, I'll read these off so we can make sure we're on task here for Sharon or whoever. All right, I'd like to officially open pages 17, 18, 23, 44, 90, 199 through 200 as it applies to this section that Chuck's going to give us. 105, 106, 6, 107. Once again, 199 to 200 as applies to those items. 187 to 189, 108, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, and 104. We'll go down to that point, and then we'll stop at that point and take a motion for those, and then we'll finish up. So
Okay.
just know if you're going to go right down through Chuck, or let us know what logically makes sense to you, and so we can follow along, and you can go ahead.
I will go through and where I'm gonna do multiple pages in a row, I'll let you know. And if I'm gonna do the first two pages and ask you guys if you have questions. Then we'll go to the next one after that.
Excuse me,
That's
and, Chuck, before you continue, I just want to throw out two last things. Page 46, the contingency page is not listed.
Right.
Right, page 46 should be on the list as well. And
Okay.
at the end, there are provisions for finance in the capital fund, pages 199 and 200. But again, at the end, once you've completed all the pages, all of the different capital funds on 199 and 200, then you specifically approve those two pages.
Okay,
So page 46 and pages 199 through 200 should be approved separately after you've done everything else. Pretty much at the same time you approve the fee schedule, pages 202 to 209.
okay,
Okay, so if you just add 46 and 199 to 200 at the end, then I think you'll cover all the pages.
okay, thank you.
All right, good luck, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night, Ken.
I may be back, we'll see. Thank you.
Okay, page 17 and 18, this is the finance budget. In the wage department, I have one finance clerk that's unfunded. As I said in my email to you, I would like to have that person back, but I'm trying to make it as efficient as I can, short that person. Person's been short since I think COVID kicked in. The only other line that's a fairly large line is the auditing financial services. It varies year to year on what we have to have done. Every year we have to have an audit of the financial report, which you'll have the auditors talking to you. Your first meeting in November about our reports from last year. Then you have GASB filings, SEC filings, Treasury services, ACA reporting that we have to do. And I basically increased that up to $61,000, mostly for the GASB report and the audited financial, which goes up each year a little bit. And travel and training this year, we didn't use any because of COVID. Overall, this budget is down about $30,000 or about 5% from last year. I don't know if anybody has any questions on those two pages. Now we'll go to 23. 23 is where we purchase real property. This is usually when we purchase stuff from the county, is probably most of the times where they're going to sell property at either what taxes are owed on it. We reduced that to $34,000 this year from $35,000 last year. So anyone have any questions on that?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Friedman.
Yep.
Thank you. Can you talk about the 2020 adjusted budget? Why is that?
That was the fire station.
That was the fire station. Okay. So I guess we're not predicting any big purchases like that for this year or next year rather.
Not that we're aware of. I mean, if something comes across us, we would come and ask you for it and figure out how we were going to pay for it, like we did this year.
All right, thanks.
I think the next one is page 44, the unallocated insurance. This is this general fund's portion of the M fund that they pay for their liability and property and casualty insurance. This is significantly reduced because we use $650,000 of fund balance in the insurance fund. The next line, I think, is line 90 or page 90. This is the power and electric. This is for the power station that we own over on Charles Street for keeping the thing heated so it doesn't freeze up inside and ruin all the parts. Although we have a offer out there for someone to look at it, if that ends up being sold, this money won't be spent, but I have to budget for it at this point in time. Capital improvements, which is page 199 and 200.
I'm sorry, this is Councilwoman Riley. I couldn't get my mute button off. Chuck, can you clarify what you just said about we're looking at someone to buy?
Yes. someone is interested in buying that property and developing it. The mayor made that public few months ago. And I think they got like 1 year period. I think it runs out in March of next year to make a decision on it, where they're doing a study and trying to bring in people to utilize the unit and put something next to it. Example might be like a mains freezer warehouse, where it costs a lot of money to keep it cold, that the electricity plant can generate much cheaper electricity there.
Thank you. I do. Okay. I remember that conversation. I just needed clarification. Thank you.
Yep. On page 199 and 200, on page 200, there's things called fiscal agent fees whenever we go to bond, that we have to pay attorney fees and fiscal agents to help us. That's what this is this year. It's a much reduced cost. I believe I have enough money already from prior years that we haven't spent. So we want 15,000 in the water fund, $10,000 in the parking ramps fund, for a total cost of 25,000. With that, we need you to make a motion and approve pages 199 and 200. You've approved everything else on this page, on both pages.
Okay. That's what, Chuck, that's what Ken just talked about. So that completes 199 and 200.
Correct.
Okay, so we can go ahead and do that. Okay, if everybody, could I have a motion to approve pages 199 and 200, the capital improvements? Wait, just down below, Chuck, you have another one down below, but we're good with that. You did both. There was a nice like stadium thing on there too. Did you?
I thought we talked about it, but no, okay, if we didn't, this is $50,000 that we have to commit to pay the NYSEG Stadium every year for general repairs.
Okay,
We're contractually obligated to do that.
okay. If I took my notes right, I think that was the NYSEG Stadium was in essence the last thing after what you just said for 199 and 200, so.
And Phil, this is Sharon. If you
Yep.
could have the lines moved in, and then we can move in the pages as they exist. But let's move in Chuck's lines first.
So this is Lori. So Sharon wants you to approve the lines that Chuck just went over as his own, under Finance Department, the fiscal
Yep.
agent in NYSEG, approve those two lines, and then approve both pages completely.
Okay,
Two motions.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
okay. So can we have a motion to, so if everybody sees on this page, there's 199 and 200 listed twice under Chuck's section. So let's call the first motion the first page for the NYSEG Stadium improvements on page 199. Do we have a motion to approve that item on page 199 that's under Chuck's finance section?
So moved.
So moved.
Second. Okay.
Second.
All in favor of moving that, in essence, what's the NYSEG Stadium facility improvements on 199? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, we had Councilman Burns on the motion and Councilwoman Riley on the second for that. The second one under Chuck's sections, that's the specific line. Is the fiscal agent fees on page 200 that Chuck just explained to us that he needs for doing bonding and stuff like that, that's under capital. So do we have a motion to approve that specific line, the fiscal agent fees under the finance department?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of moving that line on page 200?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Councilman Scaringi, motion, and Councilwoman Friedman on the second for that. So now that completes, we have now moved every line on page 199 and 200. So I will take a motion to approve pages 199. What's that?
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve move pages 199 and 200.
As a whole, okay. That was Councilwoman Riley in a second?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, so I Councilman Fringy on the motion to approve 199 and 200 as a whole, and Councilwoman Riley as the second on that motion. So Sharon, are we good for 199 and 200?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, Chuck, I guess we're back to 105, I think.
Yes, I think so. Let me go back there, make sure that's the right page. Okay, 105 is a serial bond. We're gonna have to do a motion to move this. As I told you, we were doing a refunding bond and the money came through. So what we need to do is we need to make a motion. The way I have this allocated, I gotta add 31,386 to the serial bond and subtract 31,386 from the interest portion. So it's basically a motion to increase 9710.56000 by 31,386 and subtract the decrease 89,710 by 31,386.
Okay, well, that's a good trade-off for paying off principal, so we'll take that. All right, I guess I'll restate that just for the record to make sure we're clear. So I'd like to take a motion to increase the principal, Sierra Bonds principal, A9710.56000 by $31,386, and to reduce serial bonds interest, A9710.57000, and reduce that by $31,386.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adding the principal and subtracting from the interest on the serial bond lines?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, I had Councilman Squingy on the motion and Councilwoman Friedman on the second for that.
And this is Sharon. For the purposes of the record, this was a correction. It's not actually a increase or a decrease, which is why we don't have to move it to contingency first.
Okay,
This is Councilwoman Riley. Another question for clarification.
yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is also the page, Mr. Shager, that you're working in negotiations with that may be coming back with a revision, right?
This is a refunding one that I just got done, and when I did the estimates on this, I overestimated the decrease in the principal and underestimated the numbers in the refunding.
Okay, so this is the change you discussed. So we will not see any
Yes.
further changes. Okay, thank you.
Well, later on tonight, you're gonna see two more, yes, later on tonight, but this, only this. We have to adjust the water and sewer fund too, because I had the same difference there.
And then there was the one with the line note. I'll keep the page that you were gonna come back to us regarding potential savings.
I didn't quite hear what you said, Angela, I keep hearing some noises.
Okay, there was one with a note saying potential savings once refinanced. And I'll find that, I have a note somewhere in this book, but it was earlier in the week.
Yes,
Earlier,
and
like,
that was this one here, and FX and G. There's no additional savings money. It's just how we got to appropriate it between principal and interest.
okay, thank you.
Okay? Page 106 is bond anticipation notes. These are the annual yearly bond or bands that we do, and these are the principal and interest payments that we plan on making there. With that being said, there's another page. Lori, do you know where the bond page is?
Page 6.
So we got to go back to page 6. Did they open that already or not?
Yeah, we opened it.
Yes,
Yep,
that would be your next page on your list anyway.
Okay, so page 6. You got a calculator there?
Yeah, I got one.
Well, actually, what we gotta do is the two lines here, the one that's where it says savings from refunding 2014 bond. We gotta change that principal to $9,274. And the interest to $59,601. They're both be negative numbers.
It's 31,386 again, right? That's the,
The principal line needs to be changed by 31,386.
right? And
Correct.
then just, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the difference. So if we change 9274 on principal and 59,6001 on interest, that's a difference of 31,386 for both of those.
And the interest line needs to be changed by 31,386.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing, but sorry, just repeated myself.
I don't know if anybody knows what the totals changed to. I don't have a calculator here with me. Where it says total bonds, we're gonna have to add in 31,000.
Just have them to make a motion to pass it as amended, and we'll refigure the totals.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna motion just to refer to that line. There's no account numbers or,
Right. Just
Okay.
motion to Sharon, we can just pass this one page as amended.
Yeah, I would do motion to approve as amended and have the, motion to approve as amended per Chuck's adjustment, excuse me.
Okay, there you go.
okay, does everybody understand that? We're adjusting the principal?
And Bill, I would just recommend reading that number into the record because we're going to see it regularly. Motion to amend to the $31,386 adjustment.
Okay, so we're gonna amend this page to adjust the principal and interest on the savings from refunding line by $31,386. Do we have a motion to approve page 6 as amended with that amount on the principal and interest lines?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of moving page 6 as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I got Councilman Scringi on the motion, Councilwoman Resinitti on the second for that. So page 6 is approved, so we don't have to do that later. Is that okay, Jaren?
No,
Yes, and I
Mr.
think
Chair,
you're, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
that was for the line. Now we also need to move that page as amended.
Oh, I thought I just did that.
Your
Oh, no,
motion-
that was,
That was in
did
the
we do
motion.
it all in one? Got it. Okay, I
That
apologize.
was just
Thank
the
you.
motion to amend the page.
Okay,
Thank you for the correction.
okay.
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead.
Yes, so will we be receiving the amended and corrected version of those 2 pages that we just amended verbally?
You'll be getting a whole new budget, right, Lori? With all the,
Once the budget is passed and we receive the final numbers from the county, we will be preparing adopted budgets. That's usually about the second week in December, and we will distribute them to you then.
do you want to see a different one in between, Angela?
I just want to see the numbers that we just discussed on these pages. Again, it doesn't have, I don't need the whole book. I want to see how we're changing the total bonds as well as the interest rate. And are we leaving the estimate savings numbers there if it's just an estimate and that we now have the true data?
We can, Angela, we could redo this page tomorrow and send it to you.
Okay,
This
so
is-
I mean, even on page 105 with the estimated savings, it's no longer an estimate. So are we striking that from the final document?
Yes, we can put in refunding the 2014 bond. I can change that whole thing. Not a problem.
Okay, Chuck and Lori, I think the broader question is, would it be possible for us to get all the pages? Like Angela said, we don't need all 209 pages, but get the ones that just had the specific changes that we amended.
Yes, we will.
No.
Right, we will. It's not that many.
Okay,
I mean, if not, then let us know. I'm just asking.
No, we owe it to you, Bill. We owe it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next page is, I believe, 108. We did 107. No, 107 is the next.
You want to go to 106, Chuck?
106, we already did the bands.
Yeah, we did that.
So it's 107, the interfund transfer. We've already approved the parking fund and the refuse fund. And in both one of those funds, we said money had to come from the general fund to support them, to bring them to a zero balance. This is where that money's coming from. It's being transferred from the general fund's interfund transfer line of $2,522,492 to the refuse fund. And parking ramps is gonna have $90,584.96 transferred to that fund. The next line is 108. We've gone through all these with you, with the exception, I think, of demolitions. We have a $25,000 line in there to do for demolitions next year.
everything on this page was in your capital improvements plan, 199 to 200. This is just a restatement of the general fund transfer to capital.
So now we can go back to, I think it's like 98.
We need to go to 187 to 189. $187, Grace. Right there, capital fund. So that's the cover page. The next two pages are a restatement of the CIP, just more in a budgetary format, how the revenues and the expenses are for your capital. Okay. Okay, Chuck, go on to 96.
96 is the benefits. The first one is A9010, 58,000A. This is the state retirement for the ERS. This is non-fire and police, all other employees that are not firemen or police. This is what their retirement cost is. And as you can see, it went up a little over $200,000. Page 97 is the fire and police retirement. That went from 4.9 million up to 5.8 million, almost $1 million. Page 98 is the Social Security based off of all the wages that you've approved in every department's budget. Page 99 is an allocation from the insurance fund for workers' comp. 100 is what I'm estimating unemployment insurance to be. I'll be honest with you, it's a best guess because if COVID continues, we may be coming back asking for some money, but I, took it from 20,000 up to 50,000, and hopefully we don't have the same situation next year. Disability insurance, I increased that a little bit because we've been using it a little bit more than in prior years. 102 is the health insurance, which I would like to make an adjustment on this. If I'm I guess I'll leave it up to you. I think we can take 250,000 out of the insurance and put it into contingency. We're gonna get that Aetna policy approved tomorrow. If you think that there's enough votes to pass that tomorrow, you can move 250 out of here and put it into contingency, or if you don't want to do that until after you vote, we could just leave it here. That's up to you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to reduce line A9060.5800C on page 102 from $8,042,633 and to take out $250,000 and move that into contingency.
Second.
And so that would take that to $7,792,663, just as a total. And that would go back, Chuck, to page 46. Which one of the, just the general contingency line, or is there one of these?
Yeah,
those
put
other?
it in the general contingency line.
This is Councilwoman Friedman. I've got a question.
Before there's a question, there's a motion on the table.
Wait, hold on. Councilman Freeman, you can answer just 1 second, because I got this train of thought here. So Chuck, that's gonna go back to A1990.55000.
Correct.
Okay. Just write this $250,000. All right, then we have A960.58. Oops, 1, 2. C. Okay, I apologize. This was just getting us on the same page. So we have a motion on the floor to reduce A9060.58000C on page 102 by $250,000. Would make that line $7,792,663, and to move that $250,000 to contingency, A1990.55000 on page 46, first line. We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Tim
I second
Scanlon
that.
seconded.
Excuse me?
Tom already seconded it.
Okay. Okay. All in favor of moving that $250,000 from health insurance to contingency?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that's passed. We have Councilman Stringy on the motion and Council President Scanlon on the second. Go ahead, Councilwoman Friedman, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. I noticed that there is a line in the health insurance line for contingency, and that's at $200,000. So is this $250,000? This is going to the main contingency in addition to this $200,000 that's already allocated to go to the
No,
contingency?
This contingency I have here in A9060 is we pay claims, and I don't know what these are gonna be. I'm estimating those claims to be 6.5 million. So I'm putting a $200,000 contingency in there just in case. But I also have other things that could affect all this budget is how many retirees do we have? How many people are on cases, how many leave? This is a very big number, but there's a lot of different moving parts in it. So $200,000 is a number I put in there as a safety factor.
I see. So this $200,000 is specifically the health insurance contingency, and the $250,000 reduction due to the new contract, that's going to the general contingency. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, yeah, that was a good question. So we're using the word contingency kind of in different ways, but in essence, that's a buffer against the unknown in the health insurance line, the 200,000, right, Chuck?
Correct.
Okay,
This is Councilwoman Riley.
go ahead.
So is there a line and a number for the scheme under this health insurance line itself? Does it have a separate subline
Does what have a separate subline?
for the claims? And
If you look on page 102, you'll see them all. So I'm 1,541,812. Excellus administration cost to be 200,000. Stop loss to be 300,000. Employee contributions to be 1.1 million. You can see each line what I estimate everything to be.
okay.
Any questions on 102? The next line is 103. This is for disabled firefighters. If they become disabled and they go onto a 207 plan, we may have to bring their salary up to what they would be making as a full-time fireman. So part of it gets paid through workers' comp and part of it gets paid through here. And that amount for next year is $280,000.
This is
And
Lori.
other employees,
You'll notice that's gone down because a number of people are coming off of that. They're aging out. So a number of people are coming off of that next year. Sorry, Chuck.
all right. Other employee benefits, we have an EAP program in the city, which costs $14,040. That remains stable. In compensated absences, this is a number we put out here that I usually adjust it at the end of the year, depending on, it's not enough to pay everyone's payout, but it helps clean up what I can at the end of the year. I moved it from 20,000 to 30,000.
Okay.
So I think that takes care of everything before revenues. Am I correct, Laura?
Yes. Okay, let me, does anybody have any final questions down to 104 for Chuck? Okay, I just want to review this, make sure I got it right. We've approved pages 199, 200 by line and as a whole, and we've approved page 6.
You approved the amendment on page 6. You haven't approved the page.
That's correct.
Okay.
Page
we'll
one, page
just include
102
that.
also.
102
Chairman.
has an amendment. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 102, but we haven't approved that as a whole page.
Correct.
All right, so I'm just going to read these. So 199 and 200 out of this list that we opened are the only ones that have been approved, so I will not include those again. So I'm going to take a motion to move pages 17, 18, 23, 44, 105, 106, page 6, 107, 187 to 189, 108, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, and 104.
So moved.
Who did the second?
Councilman Scanlon, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so Councilman Scaringi on the motion, I had a bunch of seconds, but I heard President Scanlon. I heard him the loudest. We'll give him the second on that and we'll continue on. So I know we got to do some summaries at the end, so we'll wait for the end and we'll take Sharon and Chuck and Lori's advice on those. But for now, we're going to do everything down to except for the fee schedule, or we're going to include that too right here, Chuck? Are we just going to do the revenues? Are we just going to do the revenue 7 through 13 right now?
I think we can do the city fee schedule right now, can't we, Laura?
Yes, we're done with the fee schedule, so you can move that as a whole right now.
Okay. Approve all those lines, Lori, for the fee schedule?
Yeah, 202 to 209, move them as,
09.
yes.
Okay.
Mr.
I take a
Mr.
motion
Chair.
to approve pages 202 through 209, the city fee schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of moving pages 202 to 209, which is the city's fee schedule as a whole? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, Councilman Scarinci on the motion and Councilwoman Residenti on the second for that. Okay, so now let's go back to, let's just open 7 through 13, 47, 5, 2, 4, and 3. And then,
40
go
And
ahead.
46 and 47.
Well, don't we have to wait for 46 till the end?
46 and 47 are both contingency pages.
I understand, but what,
We need to do that before we do the fund summary. So it's first you do revenue, then you do contingency, then you do the rest of those.
okay, so let's just open pages 7 through 13.
Okay.
That's probably a smart way to do this, yes.
Okay,
So now you've approved everything in the general fund expense side. And in order to make this thing equal, we have to go through the revenue. So if you look on page 7, the property taxes that we want to bill out to everybody is 34,076,384, down about 170,000 from last year. The payment in lieu of taxes is what we get from pilots, and you can see each pilot we have and the amount of money each one's paying. Sales tax, I'm keeping it, the number flat from what we estimated for this year. And I'm, let me go get a glass of water here, hang on. We did get our third quarter sales tax today, and it was up $300,000 from last year, which is pretty amazing considering what we've been through the last 3 months.
That is amazing.
great.
So to be honest with you, I was nervous about 12 million, but when I saw that, it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with that number. Gross utility tax, I brought it down basically to make it equal to what it was 19. This year it's a little bit low, but hopefully we don't get a lot of it every month, so it comes in spurts. Jumping down through the rest of the budget, the ambulance charges is a little low year to date, but there's a lot of accruals that go on that we get payments right up until the middle of February that go back to this year. Parking meter fees, I reduced it from 750 to 700 for next year. We are way low this year due to COVID. On page 9, the general services, other governments, the BLDC amount of money coming over is less than it has been in prior years. Interest and earnings is substantially down. Treasury bonds and stuff that I used to invest in are pretty much null and void today, getting very little. Going to page 10, I don't think there's any real big changes there. Going to page 11, the interfund revenues, the biggest difference there, going from 1.463 to 1.1 is the amount of money we're bringing over from CDBG, where in the past we would bring over X amount of money from CDBG. That's down by about $300,000. That was a decision the mayor wanted to spend that money more in the community than putting it back into the city hall. State aid, I kept this flat, assuming that we get federal aid and the state's not going to cut us 20%. If I had to do that, we'd have to come up with another $1.8 million, and just very hopeful that something goes on with the federal government and we get back to being made whole by the state. On page 12, underneath A43389, Aviva, you can see where that COPS grant money is budgeted. So that pretty much entails all the revenue. I don't know if anybody has any other questions on what I went over.
Yes, this is Councilwoman Friedman.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I was wondering if we could flip back to page 7. Do we know what has or has not been paid out of this pilot line?
We don't pay it. This is what we collect from all the different places. So like ABC Housing, we anticipate them paying $24,840, Woodburn Court, $75,833, so on and so forth, all the way down. Most of the
Right, I
time,
meant by paid, I meant paid to us. So what, do we know what has yet to be collected is my question.
you mean for this year?
Yes.
I don't know exactly what has not been paid. I'm sitting here. I can get that information. A lot of
Okay.
a lot of people pay on a quarterly basis. They don't just pay the whole amount at once. And we get the payments through the Broome County IDA.
Okay. Thanks. I'm just taking notes.
Councilman Burns,
all
do
right.
we ever get, do people ever default on that? I mean, a lot of money or anything like that?
Not since I've been here.
Good, thank you.
The biggest ones, there's some of them out here like the Schoolhouse Apartments, East Hills Senior Housing. They're not really a pilot. There's some other type of agreement that we have where they don't pay property tax, but they pay some other type of form based off of the revenue they generate. I'm not sure exactly what you call it, but we put it in the pilots program, but it's truly not a pilot.
Chuck, this is Councilman Scanlon. Doesn't the county pay us in full on these anyways?
No, they pay us when they get paid.
Okay, all right, thanks.
This is Councilwoman Riley. Since we're on this page, can you tell me the utilities gross receipt tax? Is that our relationship with Verizon and Spectrum?
Yes.
Is there any other corporate entity under this umbrella?
Yeah, there's different ones, a lot of small ones. Like there may be companies who pay us like 10 cents at times.
Oh. Okay. Okay, thank you.
This is Councilwoman Friedman. I've got another question for you. I'm looking at page 9 now, and I didn't catch, I'm looking at the interest and earnings line. That seems to be quite a significant dip from years past. And I'm sorry if you mentioned it and I missed it, but can you talk about why that is
Before we used to get,
significantly lower?
before we used to get, 2 to 2.5% interest on different treasuries that we were doing. Right now, I think we're getting like 0.2%. It's so minimal, it's unbelievable.
So that's something that's beyond our control.
Totally out of our control. It's really based off of the treasury markets. If you were to go put it, if you were to go to invest, $100 for a CD or something, and you compared it to what it was a year ago, that's how you can tell the difference. It's just, there's nothing there anymore.
Okay. And I think my next question is on page 10. I'm looking at the fines and the forfeited bail line. Is this this projected $125,000 taking into account the new bail reform laws?
No, I'm just doing it based off of estimates from what we've had in the past at given times. And we really don't control that. It's just money that we get sent to us.
Okay. do you think it would be lower because there are fewer people held in the jail on bail?
Aviva, this is Lori. Last year we collected 177,000, so the 125,000 is much less.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have any questions on the city's revenues, pages 7 through 13? Okay, I'll take a motion to move the city revenue page line 7 through 13 in the budget.
So moved. So moved.
Okay, who's the second? I got Council President Scanlon on the motion.
Councilwoman Resonetti was the second.
Okay, thank you. The thing blanked out. Okay, all in favor of approving the revenue pages for the city's budget, 7 through 13?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, we had Council President Scanlon on the motion and Councilwoman Resonetti on the second for the city revenue lines. So Sharon and Laura, you're saying now we need to go to 46 and 47 and move the contingency pages as amended?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I think we've been over these. Does anybody have any quick points of order on that, or can we take a motion to move pages 46 and 47 as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of moving the contingency pages 46 and 47 as amended?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we had Councilman Scaringi on the motion and Council President Scanlon on the second for 46 and 47. Okay, now we're into the summary pages and the, so Sharon, can you guide us here as what we should do as we move toward the end here? Do we just,
Before you do that, before you do that, you gotta open up some other pages. You gotta
That's
open
what
up page,
do we just open up 5, 3, 2, 3, 4, and 5?
No, you can,
no,
op-
Sharon, before we do that, we gotta make changes to the water and sewer fund.
Okay, then let's go, tell them what pages those are so they can open them.
So open up in the water fund, let's do water fund first and then sewer fund. So reopen pages 141 and 158.
So those are two different, not through 150, 141 and 158?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to reopen pages 141 and 158 officially, please.
Sharon, because they passed it, do they have to vote to reopen it?
Oh, they've already passed these pages?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so then we need to do a motion for reconsideration. And anybody who voted for it before can move to reconsider. Then it just needs a second and then they can reopen it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, motion to reconsider pages 141 and 158.
Second.
Okay, so once we have a motion and a second, I can then reopen pages 141 and 148.
Yes, and just because I wasn't here, Councilman Scaringi and Burns, you both voted in favor of this when it came up before?
Yes,
Yes.
Counselor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Therefore, the
Yep.
reconsideration is on the table, and you need to take a vote to reconsider. Go ahead.
Okay, everyone in favor of reconsidering pages 141 and 158? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, go ahead, Chuck.
So what we're gonna do here is the same thing that we did in the general fund on page 158. We're gonna add to FX 9710 56,000 $13,174, and we're gonna subtract 13,174 from FX 9710 57,000.
Okay, so we're adding 13,174 to principal, serial bonds principal, and we're subtracting 13,174 from serial bond interest
Correct.
on page 158. Okay,
Correct. So if you
Okay.
make a
So I'll take
motion
a
to
motion.
pass that.
so take a motion to add $13,174 to FX 971.5600 and subtract $13,174 from FX 971.5700, both on page 158.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adding to that principal and subtracting from that interest on page 158?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, Councilman Scaringi on the motion, Councilwoman Resinitti on the second. That's passed. So I get 141, Chuck?
And 141, I'm gonna, let's just pass it as amended. I'm gonna adjust the amounts that was in the estimated line and move it up to the bond issue line of 2014. So we'll get rid of that line like we talked about on the general fund. So you guys are just gonna vote as amended, adding 13,174 to principal and subtracting 13,174 from the interest line.
So they're gonna approve the amendment and then they're gonna approve the motion to approve the amendment and then they're gonna motion to approve the two pages as amended, correct, Sharon?
Yes.
Just voted on the amendment.
On the other page, now he's got an amendment on 141.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And then we can do the both pages together as a whole.
And then you can repass the two pages after you've made the change to 141. So just
Yeah,
make a
and
motion to amend it.
Okay.
Change it
And
as
then
a,
approve them as amended.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay, so can we have a motion on the line to move 13,174 from savings from refunding 2014 up to bond issue 2014 and subtracting 13,174 from the interest line?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, so we Councilman Scaringi on the motion, Councilwoman Resinitti on the second, and that is approved. So now I'd like to take a motion to approve move pages 141 and 158 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Scaringi on the motion, Councilwoman Friedman on the second. Okay, so
Okay,
those,
Woman Riley.
Okay, Chuck, what are the ones in sewer?
164 and 182 are the pages.
So go to 182 first.
Yep,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so same request as before with the other pages that were amended?
Yes.
Thank you.
And in this line, page 182, we're going to increase the principal line by 23,125.
Bill, you want to open those pages?
Yeah.
we have to have a motion to reopen these pages, correct?
Yes. To reconsider.
Okay.
So same process as before, essentially a first and a second, both who had approved the page previously.
Mr.
Yeah, I think
Chairman,
every-
motion to reconsider pages 164 and 182.
Second.
Second.
Who's that second? Sorry. Who
I
seconded
think,
that?
That was Councilwoman Friedman and Resninetti said at the same time.
Okay. All in favor of reopening 164 and 182?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Councilman Scaringi on the motion, Councilwoman Freeman on the second for that. Okay, go ahead.
Mr.
Chuck.
Chair.
We're taking,
Mr.
go ahead.
23,125, so I'll make a motion on page 182 to move 23,125,000 from principal line G9710.56000 to line interest G9710.57000.
wait, is it going from interest to principal or from principal to interest?
It's from interest to principal.
To principal,
Okay.
from interest to principal.
Okay,
Okay, do you have a second for that?
second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second to move 23,125 from Sierra Bonds interest on page 182 to Sierra Bonds principal on page 182. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, we had Councilman Scaringi on the motion, Councilwoman Resinitti on the second. That is approved. And now we go back to 164, Chuck? That's the same, that's the same thing. We've got 23,125 moving from the estimated up to 2014.
Yes, yep. So we're gonna increase the principal line by 23,125 and subtract it from the interest.
Okay. Do I have a motion to subtract 23,125 from interest and add 23,125 to principal on the savings from refunding line on page 164?
So moved,
So
Mr.
moved.
Chairman.
Second?
Second.
Oh, you did the second. So who got the motion then? So Sophia?
Councilwoman
Yeah.
Resnetti had the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, with Councilwoman Resnick on the motion, Councilwoman Scaringi on the second, that is approved. So now we can, I'd like to take a motion to
Move,
164
moving,
and 182 as amended.
so moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi on the motion, Councilwoman Resnick on the second to move 164 and 182 as amended, the whole pages. Does that take care of all those principal and interest changes, Chuck?
Yep, that takes care of all that.
Okay. So, Sharon, do we need to open 2, 3, 4, and 5, the summary pages?
Open,
Or the, in
Bill,
essence,
open
I'm sorry, the
5, 2, and 4. We can do those together.
2 and 4?
5, 2, and 4.
Okay. I'd like to open pages 5, 2, and 4 for consideration.
Mr. Chairman, considering that summary pages are things that we have already approved, notwithstanding any questions about the summary pages themselves, I'll make a motion to approve pages 2, 4, and 5.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving pages 2, 4, and 5 summaries? We've gone over all of these things individually on the other pages.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, Councilman Scaringi on the motion, Councilman Burns on the second for that motion.
Okay, and now you just got page 3.
Okay, I'd like to open page 3.
Chuck, nothing's changed on this page, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is a summary of all your funds. And there's no
Okay.
change.
There's no changes to this page. I think we've gone through every
Yep.
page now that feeds into these totals. So could I take a motion to approve page 3?
So moved.
Here.
Second. Okay, we'll give all in favor of approving page 3?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll get Councilman Scaringi on the motion and Councilwoman Riley on the second for that. Okay. We approved the fee schedule already, 202 to 209.
You've done capital, you've done everything.
Okay,
So no callback pages, so all we have to do is approve the budget as a whole, Sharon?
That's correct. And then I think I heard that the majority wanted to do an affirmative sign out at the end of the meeting.
correct.
Correct.
Okay, so this is the big one, right? We're take a motion to approve the 2021 City of Binghamton budget as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Sharon, shouldn't we do a voice vote on this?
I think because we're virtual, I prefer it to be a roll call.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom.
Who made the motion?
Sophia,
Sophia.
I did.
Councilman Resnicky and Councilman Cringy made a second.
Okay,
I will do the roll call.
okay.
Okay, repeat the motion for me, please. You cut out.
The motion was to approve the 2021 budget as amended.
But we're voting to approve the budget on next week. I thought we were only signing it out today.
We're voting to sign this out tonight, a voice vote to sign this out tonight.
To sign it out,
According to
not a-
Are we taking one
there
vote?
right there?
Or two? Is there one vote here or two?
No, it's
There's one. Sharon,
it's one. It's one. It's just one vote. This is not approving the 2021 budget as an amendment, as amended. This is a verbal affirmation of signing the RL so it can go to the floor for the public discussion and then the ultimate vote.
correct, and it was not stated as such. Which is
Okay,
why-
that, yeah, no, Councilman Riley's right, and it's stated as such. So let me restate that. This, Sharon, how should I state that? Then this is a motion to, I want a motion to approve the proposed budget as amended as a RL for consideration on the 29th. What? The
Yes.
special meeting is scheduled on the 29th, correct? And the public hearing is scheduled for the 27th.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So
according
this
to
is a motion-
Ken, we're moving this RL, we're approving this RL for the 27th for the public hearing. That's what
Okay.
Ken said earlier.
So he wants to approve for the 27th, and then we would hold it over to the 29th? Is that what we're gonna do?
That's what Ken said, yes.
Okay. All right, does that make sense, everyone? So we're gonna officially, we're gonna approve this as an RL for consideration on the 27th after the public hearing. And then most likely, we are going to hold that over to the 29th, so we have 2 days to consider the public hearing comments. But then it becomes second reading legislation on the 29th, and it's first reading legislation on the 27th. That's my understanding.
I believe that's correct, Bill.
That's
Okay.
correct, Bill.
Okay. All right, I got that right. I got one thing right, so that's good. Okay. So does that make sense? We're gonna now take, so let's do that again, just to be sure, because this is a big deal. So we're gonna approve this. So what we're approving now is signing, are we gonna sign this out for first read consideration on the 27th after the public hearing? That's what we're gonna vote on right now, to sign this out as an RL, the proposed city budget. So let's do that again. Do we have a motion for that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to move the proposed 2021 budget forward as amended to be considered as an RL for a special meeting for the public hearing on the 27th of October, next Tuesday.
Right.
Second.
That's perfect.
Second.
So is that Sophia?
Yeah.
Sophia got this.
Okay. Grace, can you take a roll call vote for us on this, this sign out process for this, for the motion that Councilman Scrivby just made?
Councilman Squirinji,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ressenetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman.
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
President Scanlon.
Aye.
It's all 7.
Okay. All right, everyone, that was quite a process. I think we did pretty good for 4 nights, so I appreciate everybody's attention, and I appreciate Lori and Chuck and Sharon and Ken and everybody else from the city that helped us through this, and the time that they took to do this. So I want to thank them for that. Obviously for 5 of us, or really 4 of us, but really 5 of us, this was a new process. So thank you for that. And with that, I think we can take a motion to adjourn budget session number 4.
Well, before that, I'd like to thank you.
Go ahead.
Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
Right,
Yeah.
for leading this charge as a newbie as well. So good job.
Yes.
Yep, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your patience and
Thank you, Phil, Chuck, Lori, Sharon, Grace.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Good night.
all right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for the regular business meeting, and we will, and then we'll talk more budget next Tuesday. So,
Wait, you need to motion to adjourn.
motion, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion.
Okay.
Give
We
me
are
a name.
adjourned.
Okay.
Good night.
All right, good night.